Good evening, everyone. Regular meeting of the Salem City Council is being held in person today, Thursday, May 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on May 6th, 2025 at 4:17 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and live on SATV and Zoom unless technological issues interrupt the transmission. Council is absent of Varela, Harvey, and Councilor Stott, who I believe will be joining us shortly. Councilor Merkel voted to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? Those opposed? Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Jerslow. Allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The Salem City Council honors that this land is Nomkeg, or fishing place where generations of Nomkeg people from the Pawtucket Band of the Massachusetts tribe lived and passed through for centuries. We acknowledge that this is unceded indigenous land and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe, which continues to honor and hold this land into the present. Salem City Council is committed to having ongoing meaningful dialogue with the indigenous peoples who have presence in Salem in order to dismantle the legacies of oppression and inequities that persist today. Public testimony. Public testimony is not to exceed 15 minutes. Public testimony is not a public hearing or question and answer period. Sign-up must occur 30 minutes prior to the meeting, and the president shall, depending on the number of speakers, set a time limit not to exceed 3 minutes. Today we have 5 speakers, so we have a full 3 minutes if you need to take that long. And the first person to come up will be Diego Sanchez.
That's correct. Hello, folks. Thank you for giving me a chance to come here today and to provide public testimony that's in support of our block party application. So my name is Diego Sanchez. I'm the director of the Punta Urban Art Museum, which is the arts program for North Shore CDC. As many of you may know, Fiesta en la Calle is our annual community celebration, and we are looking to host this event in Palmer Grove Park, just over on right on the line of Ward 1 and Ward 5. Our request in particular is to utilize a section of Levitt Street between the corners of Prince Street and Congress Street. The main reason for this request is we've been in communication with the senior city planner, Tom Devine, and there's a lot of reseeding that's going to be taking place in the grassy areas of the park. And the uses of this area will allow us to be able to properly have this celebration without impacting the reseeding of this, the grass areas in the park. So as you may know, the goal of this particular event is really, there's a couple different goals. One is to celebrate the renovation of the Palmer Grove Park, which has underwent its phase 2 renovation. The second is to unveil the new Muñecas en Rostro sculptures that were installed on Monday and Tuesday of this week. And next week, we actually are going to have 8 artists on site painting those sculptures. So this event will be a chance for folks to see the final product. And then the third is we've received a request from Mayor Dominic Pongallo to give a commemoration for a COVID-19 memorial that will also be installed in the park. So in general, this event and this particular application is a chance for us to celebrate all the community partners that we work with here in the city of Salem, also for local businesses to come out and connect with the community members, and for us just to create like a family-friendly event for the entire community of Salem to participate in. That'll feature like live music, dance performances, and it also gives us a chance to draw attention to a community hero that we also give an award out to every single year. So thank you again for giving me this moment to share this testimony.
Thank you. Ryan Valentine.
I'm not naive enough to think that my words will sway anybody's vote on the revision to the anti-camping ordinance here. I have heard a lot of deflections and rationalizations from this council over the past few meetings, though. One person condescendingly asked us for solutions to this problem while ignoring the storied history of things that have worked elsewhere. Another person had the audacity to claim that an escalation of police violence will motivate people on the living in the woods to better themselves. You have told us that Salem is technically being less barbaric than neighboring cities, as if that magically absolves us of responsibility. The Kamala Harris campaign has recently demonstrated to us that being a bit less terrible than the other guy is not good enough. You have tried to pass the buck to others in state and federal government as if that also magically absolves us of responsibility. And this ignores the power that we do have. You yourselves have the power to say no to this, and you're not going to. This will be remembered.
Caitlin Tricomi.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Tricomi. I'm also here to ask you to vote no on the amendment to the no camping ordinance. We've already been here. As Councilor Davis said at the last meeting, this is not the solution. Increasing the powers of the police to displace people with no offer of shelter or available list of shelters will force people further and further away from resources and their community, which keeps them safe. If you do want some ideas, listen to homeless people and what they need and want. They're experts of their experience, and that's something throughout this whole process that's really bothered me, that you're speaking for people. You can support changes to zoning that will allow for single room occupancy for people transitioning out of homelessness, as well as young people and older adults. Due to their small size, these small rooms, the room units are often more affordable. You can also support and advocate for overdose prevention centers. They've existed for over 30 years in over 20 countries. They're places where people can safely use previously obtained drugs under the supervision of trained staff. So the council does have the power to implement effective and proven housing policy. You have the power to improve people's lives rather than make them harder. Regardless of how you vote, I'll continue to show up for my unhoused neighbors weekly. I only wish that you would do the same. Thank you.
Kelly J.
Hi, I'm glad to be back here in person and not just on Zoom. I want to address a part of the camping ordinance directly. I would say that it does seem as though you've already made the choice to vote yes on it. I want to stick to the one point that most of the comments in the last two meetings have centered around, which is the use of the word behavior with absolutely no description, no qualifiers. I want to propose again, which I've already done by email, to one of you that you add 5 words, as determined by the shelter. What we just saw happen over the weekend at Liberty Hotel, which rents out for about $1,300 per night, where 2 women were ejected forcefully from the bathroom because of their behavior. They are now suing that hotel. And the hotel is going to successfully mitigate their liability by saying it was the security guard that did it. This is not a policy of the hotel. This was a choice of the security contractors that they hired. And security contractors probably will take that fall. It is important that we pay attention to every word and every detail when we pass ordinances. I really think you need to rethink passing any ordinance that can penalize people based on behavior with no qualifications of what the behavior is and who determines it. So please reconsider passing this bill as it is, and at least try to have some sort of responsibility assigned when you are looking at taking away people's freedoms, taking away people's safety. I also want to address, what others have also spoken out against, which is, the continued inference that we need to single-handedly as citizens apply more pressure to the state legislature and the federal legislature. One of the ways we do that as citizens is by putting pressure on our city council. And you can also work with us as citizens. If there are specific bills, that information needs to get out to us, and you need to be using as much of your time and energy to communicate that to us as you do defending yourselves and your feelings. And that's all I really have to say.
Thank you. Caitlin Halapa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Caitlin Halapa. I live at 70 Boston Street in Ward 6, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the cost of parking minimums and why eliminating them is important. Now, the short answer is that when we supply more parking, we create a less affordable city, but this is really just scratching the surface. We're going to do some quick maths here together. According to several studies, the average cost of car ownership in the state is around $14,000 a household. That's for things like vehicle ownership and parking, but also the cost of externalities that we all pay, like congestion, emissions, pollution, injuries and death, etc. We know we have around 20,000 households in Salem, so collectively, all of us residents are spending, conservatively, more than $200 million a year on car ownership. That's basically the entire 2026 fiscal budget of the city. Nearly all of that money is leaving the city, and what's worse, it's money that we are forcing people to pay in order to participate in our community. This doesn't even include the opportunity cost of tax revenue for using some of our land better. Like including additional housing or businesses. Folks like me who don't even own a car are still paying close to half of that from the externalities. It's just in our taxes. Now, why am I bringing this up tonight of all nights? Every time advocates come and talk about improving our infrastructure to create safer multimodal options or to expand public transit, improvements that will particularly benefit women, people of color, rent-burdened families, that's more than half of the people in this city. Every time we come to talk about the cost, we hear how expensive it is, how expensive change is, but we never talk about how expensive things are now and who's burdened by paying for it. It is not a matter of money, it's a matter of how we're spending it. Eliminating parking minimums is a great move to move us forward in a more equitable direction, to improve access to transportation and to facilitate the creation of more affordable housing, but it's really just the starting line with all of this. If we can commit to reducing car dependency in the city, we will be putting real money back into the wallets of Salem residents. What we could do with even a fraction of what this is costing all of us, the services that we could provide. So suffice to say, I'm looking forward to the committee of the whole meeting on parking minimums. I'm hoping that this conversation can keep moving because the status quo is expensive, it is dangerous, and it's not fair. Thank you.
Hearings.
We have an order from National Grid and Verizon to install one jointly owned pole on Sutton Ave.
Appearing in favor?
Sabita Mahaber Sheehy, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. This is for infrastructure hardening, for reliability, and for power.
Thank you. Anyone else appearing in favor? Anyone in opposition? Councilor Jersall.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I did talk to the homeowners on Sutton Ave and Bayview that this will affect. One of the homeowners actually was away because he had a death in the family, so I'm just able to talk with them. And there is some issues, and we did discuss it, and I'm hoping we can hold this till the next hearing when we can have a site visit.
Do you move to close the public hearing, Councilor Jersall?
Move to close the public hearing.
Any other further discussion in opposition?
Are you looking to hold more discussion before you grant this?
Yes.
Then you want to continue the public hearing to the next meeting?
Okay. Continue the public hearing till next meeting.
Anyone else in opposition? The Councilor Jersall's motion to hold this until the next meeting for a public hearing. All those in favor? All those opposed? Granted. Further hearings.
We have an order from National Grid to install one single owned pole on Clifton Ave.
Appearing in favor?
Sabita Mahaber Sheehy, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. This is also the same project.
Anyone else in favor? In opposition? Councilor Cohen?
This is the West Ave other Clifton Street? You know how there's two of them?
There are.
No, they both say. One is actually moving it from Clifton Ave to West Ave. So we're going to do that one first. Moving from Clifton to West Ave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the single owned pole or the joint? Oh,
Is it
they're on
the
the
single
single
pole?
owned pole.
You're on the single owned? Okay, so,
Clifton to Clifton?
yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Cohen?
Thank you. Just want to mention, this is actually moving a pole from a really difficult area where it backs up to the garage of the residents on West Ave, and that pole has become very difficult. So in addition to the reasons that National Grid needs to move this, it's actually going to benefit the neighborhood to move it to the other side. Unfortunately, that side of Clifton has no trees, so there's no issue other than it's a heat zone. So I'm in favor of this, and I'm going to move to close the public hearing.
Councilor Cohen moves to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Public hearing is closed. Councilor Cohen?
I move that this is granted.
Councilor Cohen moves that it be granted. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion granted. Further hearings.
We have an order from National Grid and Verizon to install one jointly owned pole on Clifton Ave.
Sabita?
That one will be relocating a pole from one location to the corner of two streets, and that too is for the same project.
Anyone else in favor? Anyone appearing in opposition? Councilor Cohen?
Thank you very much. I wanted to first show my appreciation to Councilor Marcillo, who had looked this up, and there used to be a tree where this is going, but when a sinkhole was fixed, the tree was down, so it is a clear area, and Zabita has been kind enough to also help with a obstruction that is actually a different utility. So just want to voice my appreciation on that, and we'll interact about that. So I'm in favor of this, and I move to close the public hearing.
Before we close the public hearing, is there anyone in Zoom, Madam Clerk? Councilor Cohen, on Councilor Cohen's motion to close the public hearing, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Cohen?
I move that this is granted.
Councilor Cohen moves that it be granted. All those in favor? All those opposed? Move is granted.
Thank you.
Appointments and reappointments. I'm sorry. Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presnewski. Motion to take out of order the item from page 15 that will refer to the Salem Arts Festival road closure. It's the second item on page 15.
Position?
We have a request from Salem Main Streets to close Front Street at the end of Essex Street between the Peabody Essex Museum and Hawthorne Boulevard, as well as Houdini Way between Front Street and Klopp Alley parking lot for safety and programming purposes, June 7th and June 8th, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. to hold the Salem Arts Festival.
Councilor Hapworth?
No, I'm sorry. It's once.
Okay, Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presnewski. I move that this be approved.
Councilor Watson-Feld moves that it be approved. Any discussion?
No discussion for me, but happy to suspend the rules as we do have the Executive Director of Salem Main Streets here tonight if people would like to ask her questions. If not, I'll make a few supportive comments and we can move on.
Councilor Watson-Feld moves to suspend the rules to allow the Speaker to address the council. All those in favor? Okay, all right.
Kylie, do you have a few words you want to say?
Sure. Thank you so much for your flexibility. I'm Kylie Sullivan from Salem Main Streets. We organize the Salem Arts Festival. I really just wanted to make sure everyone felt comfortable and had any chance to ask questions about the street closures. We're not changing anything from what we've done in the past. This is the same closure of Front Street, same hours, same couple blocks of Essex Street on the Hawthorne Boulevard end, same hours. We've communicated with the businesses already. I've sent information to the condos on Essex Street, but we'll also be touching base with them. I think the only impact we found is that the trolley has a wedding they need to get to at the Hotel Salem on one day, so we'll be helping them do that. But otherwise, this is both so we can safely expand and connect and activate more of the spaces. And we will do our usual canvassing of the parking lot on Front Street where the residents are parked, because it's always hard for them to get into those apartments. So we'll let everyone know. We'll post in the neighborhood groups on Facebooks. Anything you guys can think of, any questions you have.
Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presnewski. No questions for me, Kylie. It's a wonderful event. You all have run it beautifully and without incident for a number of years. So thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your incredibly consistent and excellent communication to both the businesses and the residents in the neighborhood. I think the expansion to Essex Street last year was a great benefit to the community, and I know it's an exciting way to activate that area. So thank you for all you do. And with that, I motion to approve.
Councilor Watson-Feld makes a motion to approve Salem Arts Festival to close Front Street, June 7th and June 8th. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Councilor Cohen.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to move that we take the agenda out of order, move to page 14, the request of residents of Levitt Street to hold a block party.
We have a request from residents of Levitt Street to hold a block party on Saturday, June 14, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Presnewski. This is a shared motion. Councilor Jerslow and myself. I have the park side, and Councilor Jerslow has the pantry side. And you heard from San Diego Sanchez about why this is a great event for us to grant. But I do want to mention, I did talk to you, President, and the CDC to make sure that the police are very involved, that they will have the proper barriers and notices and directions, and even the CDC might even have staff that directs people, because Levitt Street is really a very popular pass-through, and I have a lot of confidence that this will be done properly.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilor Cohen.
Move that this is granted.
Councilor Cohen moves that the block party on Levitt Street to close Levitt Street on June 14th between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries.
I move that we return to the regular programming. Whatever, 5.
Bottom of page 4. 4, yes.
Appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's reappointment of Daniel Ricciarelli of 397 Essex Street to the Conservation Commission with a term to expire May 9th, 2028.
Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presnewski. I motion that this be granted. That's a weird motion. Why does it say that?
It's not. Are you on page 5, top of page 5? Move confirmation by roll call vote.
Okay, I'm in the digital agenda and it doesn't say that. So let's move to approve by roll call vote.
Councilor Watson-Feld moves to confirm the appointment of Daniel Ricciarelli
Ricciarelli, yep.
by roll call vote. Madam, any discussion?
Just a continued thanks to Mr. Ricciarelli for his ongoing support and volunteering his time and energy to this important work.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela? Oh, sorry. Nope. Council Marcello?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Jerslow?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Cohen?
Yes.
And Counselor Prosnewski?
Yes. By a vote of 8 to 0, with 3 being absent, the appointment is reconfirmed. Thank you. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of Krista McGaha of 19 Pickman Street to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term to expire May 7th, 2028.
I'll let the record show that Councilor Stott has joined us. Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presnitsky. I move that this be held under the rules.
Councilor Watson-Feld moves it be held under the rules. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have the fiscal year, we have an order for fiscal year general fund capital improvement program, CIP bond order appropriation of unexpended funds in the amount of $10,026,020.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Merkel moves to refer this to the Administration and Finance Committee, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor?
Under discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Under discussion. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, President Prosnewski. Yes, and so it begins. This is the first of many agenda items tonight that will be sent to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole for our upcoming fiscal year 2026 budget hearings. They start, for the public's information, they start May 13th and run through mid-June. The agendas are posted on the city calendar, and you can see which departments are scheduled for each meeting. And the link to the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget is included in all the budget hearing agendas. And this brings you to a homepage with a summary from the mayor, and the link to the close to 700-page proposed budget is also there. And on the menu on the left side of this homepage is the link to the fiscal year 2026 budget in brief. And I like to mention that because I always find this budget in brief a really helpful summary. It's an overview of budget priorities, timelines, breakdown of revenue sources, and where your money goes. So that's always a helpful reference for these. These budget hearings are also, they're a great opportunity to learn about what each of our city departments do, and their vision moving forward. And I still always learn a lot from all of these meetings. If anyone from the public has any questions in regards to the budget hearings, please email me anytime at amerkel@salem.com. And lastly, I'd like to mention the Finance and Budgeting Awards that the City of Salem has received from the Government Finance Officers Association, and recognize all the hard work done by Anna Friedman, our finance director, and the city's finance team. This not only results in fiscally responsible leadership for Salem, but it positively affects our bond ratings. So thank you.
On Councilor Merkel's motion to refer this to the Committee on Administrative and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order for the fiscal year 2026 Water and Sewer Capital Improvement Program, CIP bond order appropriation of unexpended funds in the amount of $9,450,000.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I motion to refer this to Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Merkel's motion to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, under discussion.
No discussion.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. Really excited because the city has spent a lot of money, a lot of person hours and effort to stabilize the Willow Ave sewer pipe. Last year, we secured $900,000 from funding through Congressman Moulton, and our city council did an emergency funding of $300,000. And although the pipe is fairly secure right now, there's an allocation of $5 million to do the actual project that needs to be done to lower the pipe, and this is a really good start. We're going to need more federal and state funding, but I just want to say that for all the people listening who live in the area, we're working on it.
Any further discussion on Council Merkel's motion to refer the matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole? All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $5,703,457 is appropriated as part of the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan to be expended as listed in the attached.
Council Merkel?
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Any further discussion on Council Merkel's motion to refer this matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted Committee of the Whole? All those in favor? All those opposed? So voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the Salem City Council vote pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53.5, to authorize the establishment of the revolving funds for the fiscal year 2026 in the total amount of $3,135,000.
Council Merkel?
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Council Merkel moves that this matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the City of Salem appropriates the unexpended funds in the amount of $2,861,344.99 related to the financing of the Canal Street Utility Program, which project is now complete, and for which no further liabilities remain, to pay costs for the following projects, including the payment of costs incidental related thereto.
Council Merkel.
Thank you to President Prosnewski. I move to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
On Council Merkel's motion to refer this matter, this to the Committee of Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $750,000 is hereby appropriated from the general fund balance reserved for free cash to the capital improvement fund to fully fund the fiscal year 26 capital projects as set forth in the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan.
Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion.
No discussion.
Council Merkel moves that this matter be moved to the Committee on the Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
The wording is wrong in the order, but the, let's see, right, finance, I don't know if,
You can amend it in the, I just noticed that. I didn't notice it earlier. It says the sum of $389,000 is what I got from finance, and it's a total of $689,938 on the word, the words is not matching the numbers from finance, so maybe you can amend that in committee. You can make a note of that, Counselor. I'm sorry. I didn't notice that before. So I think it's supposed to be the sum of $689,938 is hereby appropriate from retained earnings water sewer fund account to the following accounts for the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan projects.
We will note that that was a Scribner's area, Madam Clerk. Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, as amended and read by the City Clerk.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Merkel moves that this matter, which is the sum of $689,938, be referred to the Committee on Administrative and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $200,000 is hereby appropriated in the short-term rental housing and infrastructure fund to be expended for traffic calming pilot programs pursuant to the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for this to be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion.
One quick note of interest, that these are short-term rental community impact fees that are finally starting to add up.
It's only going to committee.
Please note that Councilors Cohen and Hapworth have recused themselves. On that short note. Any further discussion on this matter? Councilor Merkel moves to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the vote taken by the City Council on April 24, 2025 for transfer from retained earnings into the solid waste fund is hereby amended as follows. That the sum of $125,029.97 is hereby appropriated from the retained earnings solid waste fund account to the following accounts as listed below for the fiscal year 24 costs associated with the increased wages set forth by the Department of Labor Standards dated January 10th, 24, which sets forth the increased rates effective July 1st, 23.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This was voted on and approved in our last council meeting. And it's in regards to prevailing wage compliance for waste management. And it's being resubmitted due to a typo.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Merkel's motion that this be adopted based on a typo from the last meeting, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $68,779.38 is hereby appropriated in the Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account to be extended for the contractual buyback for Timothy Flynn, Salem Fire Department employee.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is a contractual obligation, and we thank Tim Flynn for his service to the fire department.
Any further discussion? I would also like to commend Firefighter Flynn for the many years of service that he gave to our city. On Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption, the amount of $68,779.38 be appropriated to the Retirement Stabilization Fund for Firefighter Flynn. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $48,718 is hereby appropriated from the following receipts reserved for appropriation account to be transferred to the Park and Rec Golf Course Equipment account for costs associated with the purchase of a John Deere Pro Gator pursuant to the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Merkel moves that this matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance. Co-posted?
Yes.
Yes.
Co-posted. Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Further communications to the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $25,872 is hereby transferred and appropriated from receipts reserve funds below to the Park and Recreation Ground Maintenance account.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, under discussion.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption, under discussion.
Thank you. This is a request from Trish O'Brien, the Superintendent of Parks and Rec, to move funds from the Salem Common Income Account for grounds maintenance, hole filling, and aerating and overseeding, et cetera, for the Common. These fees are collected from private vendors using the Common per our city ordinance.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's motion to adopt the sum of $25,870 as maintained by the ground maintenance account. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications of the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $25,233 is hereby appropriated from the retained earnings water sewer account to water contracted services for the costs associated with an emergency water break response on Boston and North Street.
Councilor Merkel?
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
As it says in the order, this is to cover costs for repairs to waterman breaks on Boston and North Streets, and it was requested by Ray Jordan of he is our DPS director. And for more clarity, the North Street break was February 14th, and the Boston Street break was February 9th.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Merkel's motion, that we adopt $25,233 to fix the water break. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $6,125 is hereby appropriated in Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback Account to be expended for the contractual buybacks as follow. Salem Firefighters Union, $500, and Salem Teachers Union, $5,625.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
This is a contractual obligation in accordance with collective bargaining agreements.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Merkel's motion that we adopt the sums for the Firefighters Union and Salem Teachers Union, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications of the mayor.
We have an order to accept the donation from Cindy Sue Vincent in the amount of $1,200 for a bench donation at Forest River Park.
Councilor Merkel?
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
I would just like to say thank you to Cindy Sue Vincent for her donation.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption for the bench at Forest River Park. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you, Councilor Merkel. That was yeoman's work. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance amending an ordinance relative to Chapter 36, Sections 6 and 8, solid waste management collection of fee for certain residences and commercial establishments.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the OLA co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this matter be referred to OLA co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is mostly a math problem, all three of these here, water, sewer, and solid waste. But expect there may be some questions and an opportunity to have those questions answered in public. So we'll take all three of these in OLA and knock them out at the same time.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Hapworth's motion to refer the matter of the solid waste management to the OLA committee co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 46, Section 66, rates for use of water for residential and non-residential.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Council Hapworth moves that this matter be referred to Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion?
No discussion.
On the matter, the ordinance to amend the ordinance relative to water, residential and non-residential, be moved to all or in the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 46, Section 230, sewer user charges, residential and non-residential.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Hapworth's motion to refer this matter to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs co-posted the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? Those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance amending an ordinance relative to zoning smart growth overlay district.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Planning Board to hold a joint public meeting.
Councilor Hapworth moves to refer this to the Planning Board and hold a joint public hearing. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the proposed smart growth district centered on Harrison Road at the former Salem State South Campus. Proposed to be a mixed-use neighborhood with some historic preservation and quite a bit of affordable housing. Looking forward to the conversation.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Hapworth's motion that we refer the matter to the Planning Board to hold the joint public hearing. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the Salem City Council Committee of the Whole meet with the staff from the Department of Planning and Community Development in May or June of 2025 to discuss the current project to right-size parking requirements for future multifamily housing.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption.
Councilor Marcello moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. This is a couple years in coming, I think. I, for one, am looking forward to the discussion and the data that is coming to us. This is something that came from the work done on the housing roadmap, which, again, was probably at least a year of work with public meetings and public outreach and surveys and personal one-on-one conversations with both tenants and owners. And this is all in an effort to come up with tools that are specific for Salem in growing our housing and our housing affordability. There's nothing, I think, that bothers me more than seeing empty parking lots, and this is both for commercial and residential. And I think that there are some examples that we can look at right now where there's just too much parking that's been created, which removes trees and it creates problems with stormwater runoff. So I think that if we have some options in front of us on how to put forward or how to move forward with an ordinance that talks about how Salem can better adjust our ordinances, our zoning ordinances to related to parking required for multifamily homes. I think that this is something that's well worth the conversation. Thank you.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think completely agreed. I just want to point out that we have, I believe downtown Salem is between 40 and 50% surface level parking right now, which is, in a housing crisis, is absolutely not where we want to be. And we'll, again, point out that we have a parking garage with its own surface level parking lot on Church Street lot that could have a much better and higher use. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilor Marcello motion that the Committee of the Whole meet to discuss the right-size parking requirements for future multifamily housing. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. I believe we have a late file, Madam Clerk.
Yep. We have our communications from Mayor that was received at the deadline of Tuesday noon.
Councilor Merkel.
Sorry. Yes, I ask for suspension of the rules so we can bring this matter forward.
Councilor Merkel asks for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
We have an order from that the City of Salem appropriates two unexpended funds, one in the amount of $50,000 and the other in the amount of $91,236.71 for other projects.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Merkel moves that this matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Mayor's informational page.
We have the letter from the mayor submitting the City of Salem's fiscal year 2026 operating budget and 5-year capital improvement plan.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I move to refer this to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion?
Just very quickly, this is a lengthy letter with a lot of the budget information included in it, and it also includes the budget in brief.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's motion to refer this matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. Ordered that the City Council Committee on Government Services, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss the city's contract and services negotiated with Waste Management, and that the following be invited: City Engineer Duhamel and Business Manager Water Registrar Mustafa. And I move that this is co-posted.
Adopted.
Move adopted.
And co-posted. Under discussion?
Thank you, President. I think I'm one of many who have questions about how this contract is being extended. For people who don't know, there's 2 categories that do not require bidding. One are energy, and the other is hauling of trash and recycling. I'm not suggesting that extending the contract is a bad thing. I just think it's important for the department that negotiated this extension come before us and answer questions. For example, why do we do single stream and not dual stream? What additional services are available? For example, do they do composting? And why? What the actual rationale was to extend it and not put it out to bid. And I'm assuming that my colleagues will have many other questions as well.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Cohen's motion that the matter be put to the Government Services Committee, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, discussing the city's contract with Waste Management. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. For the motions and orders and resolutions, Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. Ordered that a Veterans Square be named after U.S. Army technician 5th class John Joseph Gallagher, who was killed in action on March 3rd, 1944, and that the square be located in Ward 3 at the corners of Hathorne Street and Dane Court. And I move for adoption.
Under discussion?
Thank you, President. This request came from the Salem Veterans Council. Gallagher Square is to be located in Ward 3 at the corner of Hathorne Street and Dane Court. Dane Court is a private road immediately southeast of Hathorne Crescent. It's hard to find it on a map. That's why I'm pointing that out. John Joseph Gallagher was born in Peabody on March 9th, 1922, and joined the United States Army on December 20th, 1942. After his enlistment and training as an infantryman, he was assigned to Battery D, 472nd Coast Artillery Corps, part of the 7th Infantry Division. During a battle to secure an airstrip at Nadzab, New Guinea, Technician 5th Class Gallagher died of wounds received on March 3rd, 1944. This veteran meets the eligibility criteria of having been a resident of the city of Salem upon entry into the armed forces, living at 73 Hathorne Street, and having made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our freedoms and our American way of life. This square will be dedicated as part of the Veterans Council's 2025 Memorial Day ceremony. Thank you.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Morcillo's motion that the Veterans Square be named after U.S. Army Technician 5th Class John Joseph Gallagher, who was killed in action in World War II on March 3rd, 1944. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further orders and resolutions. Councilor Jerzalo.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. Ordered that a Veterans Square be named after U.S. Navy Seaman First Class Anthony Frank Pidenkowski, who was killed in action on February 19th, 1942, and that the square be located in Ward 1 at the corners of English Street and Cousins Street. A dedication is being planned as part of the 2025 Memorial Day ceremony, and I move that this be adopted.
Other discussion?
Thank you. I'm always honored to stand before you in support of recognizing the sacrifices made by our brave service members. Today, I'm proud to bring forth the endorsement for the naming of a city square here in Salem in honor of a local hero, Seaman First Class Anthony Frank Pidenkowski, who was born and raised right here in our community and who gave his life in service to our country during World War II. On behalf of the Pidenkowski family, the Salem Veterans Council, and the Director of Veteran Services, I fully endorse the naming and dedication of the square located at the corner of English Street and Cousins Street in Ward 1. We propose it be named Pidenkowski Square in lasting tribute to this fallen hero. After speaking with Rich Benkel, a longtime Salem resident and second cousin of Seaman First Class Anthony Pidenkowski, I learned more about Anthony's life and legacy. He was born on July 10, 1916, and grew up on English Street, just steps from where the square will stand. Orphaned at a young age, he and his sisters, Caroline and Stella, were raised by extended family right here in our Salem neighborhood. Anthony first served for 6 years in the United States Marine Corps. On March 11, 1940, he enlisted in the United States Navy and was assigned to the USS William B. Preston, a destroyer and seaplane tender. On February 19, 1942, while anchored off the coast of Darwin, Australia, the USS Preston was attacked by a large force of Japanese bombers. As the ship attempted to make for open sea, it was hit, resulting in the deaths of 11 men, with 2 missing and 3 wounded. Seaman First Class Pidenkowski suffered severe burns during the attack and later died of his injuries. He was buried at sea. For his bravery and sacrifice, Seaman Pidenkowski was posthumously awarded the Purple Heart, the Victory Medal, and the American Defense Service Medal. It is only fitting that we honor his memory by dedicating this square in his name on the very street he once called home. The dedication of Pidenkowski Square will take place as part of the 2025 Memorial Day ceremony led by the Salem Veterans Council. We expect many members of the Pidenkowski family, fellow veterans, and members of the Salem community to attend and pay tribute to one of our own. Let us never forget the cost of our freedoms, and let us always remember those who paid the ultimate price to protect them. Thank you.
Councilor Gerslow moves for adoption of Veteran Square being named after U.S. Navy Seaman First Class Anthony Frank Pidenkowski, killed in action February 19, 1942. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Hapworth.
Mr. President, ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Section 11, bus stops, Section 51 and 51B, Article 5, parking prohibited, is the attached ordinance. And I move to refer to the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Hapworth moves to refer this to the Committee of Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs under discussion.
There is a large conversation happening around tour buses, and the goal of this ordinance specifically was to allow for some more temporary time to encourage tour bus drivers to drop off and then go park elsewhere. I think there is a larger conversation that should be happening about this, and I think it is a public health, I think it is a public safety issue more than an economic development issue right now in Salem, with the size of the tour buses, street closures, and the impact to pedestrians and to people who are living downtown or trying to walk downtown. So I think I would like to see this conversation happen publicly with Lieutenant Tucker and, if possible, Chief Miller, to get their thoughts on these tour buses and what would be the best way to deal with this as we come into October.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Hapworth's motion that this matter be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Public Health and Safety? That this matter be referred to the Committee on Public Health and Safety, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Gerslow.
An ordinance to amend ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75, resident sticker parking on Blaney Street.
Under discussion?
Yes. I move to adopt for first passage.
Councilor Joseph moves for adoption of first passage. Under discussion?
Thank you, President Prosnowski. The Blaney Street has one house for Blaney Street. The residents only have parking for just one of their vehicles, and they've asked to participate in the resident permit parking zone, which encompasses Derby Street and the surrounding streets. I did get the recommendation from Lieutenant Dave Tucker. It would only allow them to get a resident permit, but no visitors passes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilor Jerzal's motion to adopt for first passage, resident sticker parking on Blaney Street. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions and orders and resolutions? Councilor Jerzal.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. Resolution of Jewish American Heritage Month. I move that this be adopted. Under discussion.
Under discussion.
Thank you. Resolution Jewish American Heritage Month. Whereas since 2006, Presidents Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden have all issued proclamations for Jewish American Heritage Month, which celebrates Jewish Americans and encourages all people of the United States to learn more about Jewish heritage and the contributions of Jewish people throughout the history of the United States. And whereas it is critical to increase awareness of Jewish American contributions dating back to the founding of the United States, we must tell the positive story of Jewish contributions to the United States and the world, where generations of Jewish Americans have made significant contributions to the arts, entertainment, culinary traditions, sports, science, technology, military, government, business, and other fields to help shape our nation's history. And whereas Jewish American women have made significant contributions to American politics and activism, including Ernestine Rose, a Jewish immigrant who raised her voice to resist slavery and fight for women's suffrage, and Florence Prague Khan, the first Jewish woman member of Congress and first woman to serve on the House Military Affairs. And whereas Jewish Americans long advocated for the education of all, including Julius Rosenwald, who partnered with Booker T. Washington to invest in the education of black students and built thousands of schools for black students in 15 states in the South. And whereas the Jewish community has long been involved in the civil rights movement, as Henry Moskovich joined with civil rights activists such as W.E.B. Du Bois and Ida B. Wells to found the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in 1909. And whereas Jack Greenberg argued against segregation in Brown versus Board of Education as co-counsel to Thurgood Marshall, and succeeded Marshall as Director Counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And whereas Rabbi Abraham Joshua Herschel served as a close ally and advisor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., marching with him from Montgomery to Selma in 1964. And whereas with anti-Semitism on the rise in our country and hitting historic heights last year right here in New England, Massachusetts recorded 438 anti-Semitic incidents in 2024, ranging from bomb threats targeting synagogues and Jewish schools to vandalism, harassment, and verbal physical assaults at campuses, businesses, and public parks. This resolution both honors Jewish American heritage and sends a powerful message of solidarity and support to Jewish communities across the country. By educating ourselves about Jewish history and culture, we deepen our understanding of America's diversity and reaffirm our commitment to combating hate and prejudice in all its forms. And now it be further resolved that the City Council make this resolution a matter of record of these proceedings. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Jerzal moves the resolution be adopted by roll call vote. Madam Clerk. Any further discussion? Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Brzezinski. I will not be supporting this resolution, and I do just have some kind of broader questions, concerns about how resolutions are coming to us. I think, sometimes we have resolutions that are written by councilors. Sometimes, the process for resolutions, I think, are really kind of thoughtful and really transparent, like with the resolution that Councilor Merkel brought forward a few meetings ago. We had so many residents and organizations that were really brought into that process. And then there's resolutions like this that feel a little mysterious to me. I don't know who wrote this. I don't know if people of color in our community were kind of brought into the process of drafting language, given so much of this has to do with the racial justice movement. I'm confused why a non-Jewish member of the council is reading it, and that's not a criticism of Councilor Jerzalo. You did a great job reading it, but that's strange to me. And I think we need to be really, really cautious when we're talking about language that has to do with anti-Semitism on college campuses, just given the context that we're living in, where there's, such a deliberate attempt to smear a lot of college students as anti-Semitic merely for criticizing the country of Israel and for speaking out against the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people. And not only that, but actually being abducted by the federal administration for doing so. So our words around that really matter. Just some things I think that to think about to make this process a little kind of more appropriate, I guess.
Any further discussions? On the Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prasnewski. As I would like to say, I very much appreciate the messaging and the spirit of this resolution and the history expressed. I did have some concern as well, given the moment of time that we're in, as was just expressed, with the inclusion of campuses in the language here. And my concern is for the need for balanced messaging in this space. I'm concerned for how this may land for some people, well, unintentionally, in regards to, as the other council had expressed, happening on college campuses with protesting and abductions. And I also had some questions on the sourcing of the language as well, though I respect the clear and factual messaging here. But yes, I would wonder if there was any interest in removing campuses from the language as well. So thank you.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also second that I absolutely support Jewish Heritage Month here, Jewish History Month. And I think that these concerns around making sure that our words are heard intentionally are important. So the intentionally supporting our Jewish neighbors, I think, is very important for people to hear right now. But I don't want unintentional messages to come out. I think the sourcing of any resolution that comes forward should have broad input from the community. And I think I would move to send this to the Committee on Government Services to just make sure that we have those voices heard and we have a chance to have that discussion, that we bring it back, and that we're not voting for or voting down a resolution that could send messages to people depending on how they're interpreting it and how those words are interpreted from those different groups. So I would move to send to the Committee on Government Services, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
A second.
Any further discussion? Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you. I spoke about this last year when the Jewish Heritage resolution came up. I'm going to speak about it again. I'm glad to have a motion on the table to send this to committee, and I appreciate the remarks of my colleagues. Resolutions are beautiful things, right? They bring attention where attention is often needed. I am and have always been very consistently supportive of this Jewish American Heritage Month resolution. I've always been happy to acknowledge the incredibly beautiful and diverse participation of the Jewish community in global history, and acknowledge oppression of the Jewish people historically. I also am famous for saying, I like to think I'm famous for saying, that two things are true, right? Two things are simultaneously true. This resolution cannot be taken out of the context of the moment. And I can be supportive and adoring of the Jewish faith, the Jewish people, our Jewish neighbors, our Jewish residents, we're two Jewish constituents, and I can openly condemn the literal crimes against humanity and undescribable violence taking place in Gaza. And I can condemn the acts of Netanyahu, and I can condemn the acts of the IDF, and I can still be a lover and supporter of our Jewish neighbors and the Jewish faith and all of the cultural advances that the Jewish people have participated in. Both of those things are true. So I look forward to reviewing this language with great intentionality and great care and appreciation and respect in our government services, if that's the will of the body. Thank you.
Any further discussion? We have a motion on the Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, Chair. I will say that it's unusual that we would send a Heritage Month resolution to committee. And this is about Jewish American Heritage Month. And I think, as people have said, the text was pretty much on point until the end, when it did take kind of a political turn. And so I think that's where we need to understand more of the language and the reasoning for including that language. And I want to keep it focused on the Jewish American heritage that's being called out this month. And each of the points throughout this are incredible points by, pointing to leaders in their field through history. And so, it is unusual to send it to committee, but I do think that it does need some work, or at least some understanding about where the language came from for the end part. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Before we take a vote to send it to committee, I just want to remind councilors that we do have this in our agenda prior to our meeting, and if there's any questions on reading the resolution, maybe instead of bringing it to committee, because our committees are going to be busy the next couple of months between all the things that are going on with ordinances, licenses, and legal affairs, and even more so with the budget reasons, in order maybe to avoid a committee meeting based on what could be taken out or adjusted before our meeting. Maybe contact the council that's putting it into committee and seeing if we can resolve it before it becomes a committee meeting. So with that said, all those in favor of sending this matter to Committee on Government Services, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Hapworth. Any late files for motions, orders, and resolutions? Seeing none. Committee reports. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council, May 8th, 2025. Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to condominium conversion, has considered said matter and would recommend it remain in committee.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to appreciate the committee and Lori Stewart and Managing Cola for coming in and having a spirited discussion around this. This is yet another item that's on our agenda that is effectively a Band-Aid on a much larger problem that all communities are dealing with, including Salem, which is the loss, the sort of rapid loss of rental stock, and looking for ways to make an impact that can help those who need it the most right now. I think that if I could summarize the general will of the body, I think that there was a general probably support for this ordinance. This has been many years in the making, but just to ensure that the language that's being used in here and some of the initiatives that are in here are not overly hurting Salem homeowners as we're trying to strike that balance. And there's some language around displacement that I think that there was just wanting to make sure that we get that right before we pass that. So that'll come back through OLA again, and then it will come back, hopefully come back to the council for a first passage.
Any further discussion on Councilor Hapworth's adoption of the recommendation that the condominium conversion issue stay in committee? All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem in City Council, May 8th, 2025, Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs to refer the matter of school committee compensation per Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 2. School Committee 956, compensation of members, has considered said matter and would recommend the ordinance be amended. I can read it off right now, I suppose, or we can do it under discussion.
On the acceptance of the report. All those in favor? Under discussion, Councilor Hapworth.
For first passage, yeah. We under discussion?
Yes.
So the recommendation would be to, I guess, background on this. We updated the compensation of the school committee in 2024, I think it was, to be 8% of the mayor's salary. So in the ordinance, it states that they shall receive a salary equal to 8% of the salary of the mayor. It goes on to say that during the first 4 months of the city council's biennial organization, the matter of the school committee's compensation shall be reviewed by the city council committee on administration and finance, and a recommendation reported to the city council no later than the first meeting in May. The committee shall recommend the compensation of school committee members for subsequent 2 fiscal years. So that entire section that I just read there is not needed any longer because it's redundant. We have the mayor's salary is already setting the school committee's salary. We don't need the ANF to meet annually to set that salary when it's set by ordinance already. So the recommendation is to remove that language after this salary shall be paid to members biweekly.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Hapworth's recommendation that matter be stricken for redundancy based on the mayor's salary, and this matter be taken up, positive recommendation on first passage. We're moving to pass this on first passage. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council, May 8th, 2025, Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of denied public guide. Eddie Espinal has considered said matter and would recommend denial.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Under discussion?
No discussion.
On the acceptance of the recommendation for the denial of the public guide license by Councilor Hapworth, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Other committee reports. Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Presnewski. Community of Economic Development co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of the Haunted Happenings Report for 2024, has considered said matter and would recommend that the report be received and filed.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Under discussion?
Thank you, President Presnitsky. We had a wonderful, approximately 2-hour meeting during which the mayor and the chief of police and the chief of fire and the assistant transportation director, Christina Hodge, special events manager, Jeremy Fisk, and the director of public services, Ray Jadoin, and also the executive director of Destination Salem, Ashley Judge, were present, and all each co-presented their annual report based on the 2024 Haunted Happenings season. For those that have not seen or attended one of these sessions in the past, this is an annual event that takes place where the city reports to the council on some of the statistics around the numbers of folks who have come to town, ridership of the MBTA, general information around the number of folks in town, the business and resident survey results that do go out after Haunted Happenings every year, some of the high hits that come out of that from a feedback perspective. And then the council has an opportunity to ask questions that have all been raised from either our own observations or those by our constituents, and get some of that information answered. And then also the public has an opportunity to speak. So we did have 3 public comments. Interestingly, they were all really thoughtful around, the size and scale of tour groups and the safety around that, the location of porta potties generally around town, but specifically on the common, and the impact of those for residents there. And we also had some comments and some good conversation around the ongoing damage to the Salem Common from predominantly the location of the Fiesta trucks. So those are almost always the same topics that come up on an annual basis. So it was good to have the information. I will say a couple of new bits of information were shared this year about the re-upping of the Fiesta contract. The contract for that food and beverage part of the event was sent out to bid this year. Fiesta did win the contract again. It is a 3-year contract, but there were some changes. So this year, they have reduced the amount of space dedicated to Fiesta, which now opens that and makes it available to other local vendors and other local businesses. So encouraging folks to make sure that they are contacting the city, whether it's Jeremy Fisk or the planning department, around opportunity to participate in the small business economy stuff that goes on during Haunted Happenings, because that's a little bit looser and a little bit more spacious for our local businesses this year, which is really exciting. The other exciting news that came up, I was very excited to hear that MBTA saw a 58% increase in 2024 during the weekends in October over 2023, which was, the number was 173,804 passengers. So all of the work that the city is doing in promoting the use of public transportation is working. It seems like we're seeing that, and the MBTA is responding accordingly with increased number of trains, especially in October. And in fact, I think the weekend of Halloween, they had trains running in both directions every half hour. So it was wonderful. I encourage folks to look at the minutes when they become available online. I've got my first draft this week, so I'm looking them over now. We'll have a couple tiny tweaks, but they should be available very soon. And a lot of the statistics were also shared in the report that the city filed with the council in February. Other major conversations, again, continues to be about congestion and parking, the flow of traffic, shuttle buses with some potential changes to the cost of taking shuttle next year is being considered, the location of light towers and additional road closures and public safety. And as always, the police were wonderful partners, and the fire department have been wonderful partners in emergency response specifically. We got a lot of good information around that. So thanks to everyone who participated. Thanks to everyone from the public who listened in and attended and raised their really thoughtful questions. And thanks, of course, as always, to the city staff and the police department, fire department, and Destination Salem for showing up so well prepared to answer everyone's questions. Thanks.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Watson Felt's recommendation that the Haunted Happenings report be received and filed, all those in favor? That carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, May 8th, 2025. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of snow removal practices, policies, and challenges for the city, as well as enforcement and review of existing ordinances and related fines, has considered said matter and would recommend that we requested the city solicitor amend ordinances section 3813 and 3814 to double the current fines.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Under discussion.
Thank you, President. Grateful that Councilor Stott placed this order. I think there's a consensus throughout the city that there's some bad actors that don't sufficiently clear their snow and ice, and it's a safety hazard for many people, and it's an accessibility problem. Building Commissioner Alfanos, DPS Director Joden, and the City Solicitor Beth Renard were in attendance, and a few things came up. One is that the tool that we're going to use to increase the fines is a state rule 40U. It does not, however, it allows us to double the fines. However, it doesn't allow us to create different fines based on commercial versus residential. So the fines that we're recommending will go from 25 first offense, 50 for each subsequent offense, to 50 and 100. And one of the things that's really important, that the subsequent fines can be done daily. A few things I think that would be important to everyone to note is that building commissioner and her staff have a list of those who have been most egregious, and they will most likely go out in advance to make sure that those sidewalks are cleared. Councilor Harvey could not make the meeting, but submitted some concerns to me about some of the city properties around some of the parks not being cleared sufficiently, and Director Joden has a plan for that as well. There are priorities, obviously schools, busy intersections, things like that. But the intent, staffing permitting, we'll get to all of those as priorities. It's really important that people report using snow@salem.com still. That's really important. And one of the things that was stressed is, although there was a question about whether C-Click Fix the staff can respond in the same way, the intent, at least Director Joden, was to be able to respond and acknowledge things through emails. So there will be a filing by the solicitor, and we also voted to keep this in committee. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Presnowski. I'd just like to thank Chair Cohen for holding the space for that meeting. I'm also looking forward to follow up on your note. Great recap of the meeting. I'm looking forward to the additional data that we talked about related to the reporting. I feel the email can sometimes be a dark hole, and we're not quite sure, especially it's hard to do responses when people don't get a response immediately and then send another email, and it can kind of get a little collective. But Director Jordan did note that they have a manual log that they keep to help report on those issues. So I'm looking forward to see what that data entails, especially in the split between public and private property, repeat offenders, things like that. And VULA is also going to, or the inspector for the city, Ms. Urbanos, is also going to report back a more detailed breakdown of the number of fines and tickets that she's issued, or her department has issued. Last year it was 116 total, but she didn't quite have the breakdown of how much of those were repeat offenders, were second or third or follow-up for same properties. So also looking forward to that amount or level of data breakdown, as well as the residential and commercial property.
Any further discussion? Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presnowski. Just a process question through you to Councilor Cohen. When we vote on accepting the report tonight, we're not voting on accepting the doubling of the fines, right? We're waiting on something to come in from the city?
Thank you, President. So the order by itself does not enable us to make the vote, and it gives the solicitor a chance to actually refine this so that for our next meeting on the 22nd, we can vote to increase the funds.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Cohen's motion that this matter of doubling the fines for snow removal remain in committee. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Communications from city officials, none. Petitions.
A request from Comcast to install conduits on Charter Street for service at 37 Central Street.
Hearing ordered, May 22nd, 2025. Further petitions.
A request from National Grid to install conduits on Ford Avenue.
Hearing ordered, May 22nd, 2025. Further petitions.
We have a petition for residents of Bentley Street to hold a block party on Saturday, June 28th, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. with a rain date on Sunday, June 29th, 2025.
Councilor Gerselo.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move that this be granted.
Councilor Gerselo moves that this be granted. Under discussion.
Thank you. Yes, the residents held a really nice block party last year. A lot of people came out, and I just hope I can make it this year.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Gersel's motion that the block party move be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Further petitions.
We have a list of public guides.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move this be granted.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this list be granted. All those in favor? All those opposed? Further petitions.
We have 2 drain layer contract operator license applications.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move this be granted.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these be granted. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Hapworth moved drain layer operator licenses applications be granted. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions?
We have 5 claims.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Hapworth moves that the claims be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs. Any discussion?
No discussion.
No discussion. All those in favor? Matter carries. Unfinished business.
We have the second passage of an ordinance amending an ordinance relative to zoning flood hazard overlay district.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for second and final passage by roll call vote.
Councilor Hapworth moves second and final passage by roll call vote. This will be a 2/3 vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
On Councilor Hapworth's motion to move this for second passage. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcillo?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Gerselo?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Davis?
Yes.
Council Cohen?
Yes.
And Council Prosnewski.
Yes. The vote of 9 in favor, 2 absent, motion carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 24, Section 31, camping.
Councilor Cohen.
Move adoption for second passage.
Councilor Cohen moves for adoption on second passage. Under discussion. Seeing further discussions, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. We had a suggestion during public comment that I think we should take up, and that was to clear up the language of Amendment A to add the words, so an individual's behavior preventing admission to an otherwise available shelter. So after those words, according to the shelter, and then the rest shall not be considered unavailability of shelter. As I'm reading that amendment, I assume that was the intention, so I don't see any harm in making that very clear, especially if it potentially protects someone. So I'd like to make that motion. So I'd like to make a motion on Amendment A to add the words according to the shelter after the words available shelter.
Any further discussion? Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, President. I also was going to make that amendment, but can we just clarify, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to clarify the word behavior. So if we could, and I'm going to offer this wording and see if it does what you want to do. My suggestion was that after the word behavior, we add comma, as defined by the shelter, comma, because that is the clarification is on the word behavior. So it would read, an individual's behavior, comma, as defined by the shelter, comma, preventing admission to an otherwise available shelter shall not be considered an unavailability of shelter.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Presnewski. I love that amendment, and I'm really happy that it was motioned, but I think it's in the wrong spot. I think what Councilor Marcillo intends to say is an individual's behavior preventing admission, comma, as defined by the shelter, end comma. Therefore, the behavior and the consequence of the behavior is both associated with the definition by the shelter. So grammatically, that's where that would go. Does everyone's nodding their heads? Okay. So just to read it one more time. An individual's behavior preventing admission to an otherwise available shelter actually is where it would go. No, you're right. Never mind. I was right the first time. Strike that. An individual's behavior preventing admission, comma, as defined by the shelter, end comma, to an otherwise available shelter shall not be considered an unavailability of shelter.
Any further discussion? Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Presnewski. This is just a point of clarification. So this still keeps this remaining as second passage and for the public's knowledge as well, because when you think of something taking two passages and now we're voting on something that's changed. So I would just welcome some clarity on that.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Presnewski. Yes, through you to Councilor Merkel. In first discussion about this language, we specified, and I noted myself in council, that behavior-based language, that the preventing of that admission is not the city's call, right? That was the actual intention of the original language anyways. So I think that the further clarification is well within the intention of the statement. And at the time, City Solicitor Renard was present.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion, the motion that she made for the language.
So for clarification, Madam Clerk, because there's a language change, we can still, as amended, make a second passage.
Yes, it just needs to be advertised again, but it can be adopted for second passage as amended, and it'll just go be advertised again.
Okay. On Councilor.
You need to vote on the amendment first.
On Councilor Marcillo's amendment. Oh, I'm sorry. On Councilor Watson-Felt's amendment, seconded by Councilor Marcillo.
Yeah.
To change the language as. Change the language as we just heard about behavior. All those in favor? All those opposed? Amendment passage. Now, on taking a vote on this, Councilor Cohen's motion that we approve the second passage of this ordinance. All those in favor?
Amended.
As amended. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Yes. Before I turn it over to Councilor Marcillo, just a personal point of privilege we learned earlier today. John Boris passed away. For those of you who don't know, John Boris, he was a rock in this community. He volunteered for more events, for more organizations, raising funds, countless funds for so many different organizations in the city. John was the man to go to when we needed to get things done in the city, when it came to events and donations and rallying people to help with these things. I don't even have enough words for how much John Boris contributed to this community. But just if we could have a moment of silence for John, would be appreciated. Before we have a moment of silence, Councilor Cohen would like to make a
Thank you, President. It's really sad to hear. Just a couple of things about John. He was the chair of the board and also served on the board at Salem Housing for decades, actually. But one of the things that affected me most about the good work he did was there were many times where people would displace from their homes. For example, when 11 families would displace on Line Street, he actually placed almost everyone into a shelter or a permanent living space. And he did that, and very few people knew about some of the stuff that he did.
I'm sure a lot is going to come out. So out of respect for Mr. John Boris, moment of silence, please. Thank you. Councilor Morcillo.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Morcillo motions to adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? We are adjourned.